Welcome to the Everything's Coming Up Marketing Podcast, where we talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly of marketing and mental health. On this show, oversharing is caring. I'm your host, Amber Rhodes. I hope you enjoy the show. Hey y'all, today I'm here with Alysa Turner, who deals with stress by
taking baths.
Oh my God, do you have a whole setup?
I do. I actually moved pretty recently, and one of my requirements was that I needed to have a bathtub because that's how I decompress. So I ended up having to upgrade to a 2-bedroom because all of the one bedroom models only had showers.
Oh my goodness. Have you seen House Hunters? Is that a show you ever watch?
Yeah, it's a danger for me, honestly.
You would be that lady who's like, Jeff, I don't see my bath in here.
Yes. And it has to be cavernous. That's the word I'll use. The bathtub has to be cavernous.
Oh, I love that. Kind of a dream of mine is to have one of those classic 90s corner ones with the jets, they're really tacky, but I want one so bad.
I attribute my bath addiction to that because growing up in my parents' master bed, they had that corner jacuzzi set up.
Yes.
And it was a big treat for me. So I think that's definitely to blame for why I take so many baths.
Yeah, I wasn't spoiled that way. And I think for me, it's just the American dream is to have a corner bath. Bath.
Hey, and the 90s are back in a big way. So why not in a bath way?
In a bath way. I love that. I love the way you think. So I'm going to kick it off by asking,
hey, how you doing?
I'm doing great, actually. I'm doing great. I've got some big things in the works. Not a newsletter, I promise. And yeah, I'm doing fantastic. Thanks for asking. How are you?
Oh, I'm always doing a little okay. I'm always kind of on the verge of tired. I've been feeling pretty okay this week, though. I feel like a lot of my mood is determined by how productive I am, which is pretty messed up. I don't think that that's healthy, but it's true and it's there.
Yeah. Hey, we deal, right?
We deal. Let's just start by talking about your mental health journey and how that has affected your work journey. I know that's very vague, but I would just love to see where you start with that.
Yeah. I grew up in a Black household where excellence was kind of the standard. And I think, obviously I brought that maybe not so much in my education, but I got pretty serious about it when I entered the work world and I got my first big girl job with a badge and a desk and everything. And I really became that boss babe, wearing the pencil skirts and the heels and everything, just click clacking around the office. And I really leaned in to that. And I burned out. I mean, I'm only 29 and I pretty much burned out. Not to sound cliche, but I truly don't think I've processed the pandemic, and I'm sure most of us haven't since we're still in it. But yeah, I think, I leaned in a little too hard and found myself burnt out. And I think that's probably representative for a lot of people. I didn't really have that pandemic break where I was okay, let me calm it down. Let me scale it back. If anything, I ramped up. I started job hopping because while I loved my job that I had, I was criminally underpaid. And so it was really important for me to catch up to my peers and to the market rate. So I did that by job hopping. And as glamorous as it may sound, it's exhausting. You're learning new people, learning new systems. Are we using Slack? Are we using Teams? Are we using Discord? Or, it's tiresome. So yeah, I'm tired. I'm tired, girl.
What does burnout look like for you?
Oh man, sleeping a lot. And, I'm in a pretty creative role, and just the creativity doesn't come. When I'm creatively dry, when I'm sapped, I know, and when I'm taking too many naps, I know. Now, baths can only do so much. So when I start, not enjoying things I love to do, like writing and designing, when it all starts to feel like a chore and I'm not doing any personal development or taking on any like personal creative pursuits, I know I'm burnt out. When I can't read and I get my Kindle out and I've been reading the same page for an hour, it's bad. It's bad.
Yeah, that I think the reading one has been an indicator for me as well. I enjoy reading so much, so if I ever get to a point where I'm too tired to read and it's been weeks, then I know that like it's time to check in. I don't always know internally when it's time to check in, but I can like see these external factors that are telling me you got to check in.
Yeah. And I think when people are asking you like, are you okay? Yeah, it's easier to see from outside, I think, sometimes than inside. And so when you have all of these kind of data points that you can pull together, then I kind of say, oh, okay, I see. I see it.
It had to be told to me for sure in the past by my partner. It was just like, you seem really unhappy and you've seemed unhappy for a while. And even that first time that it was told to me, I was like, okay. And then it just kept being like, well, now it's affecting our relationship. And then I was like, oh, okay, that's not good. So then I quit,
for real. Yeah. And I'm the type of person where, at least I used to be, where I was just going to like boss babe my way through it, or I'm like, I'll just double down on this thing that's, crushing me. Not healthy.
I'm so interested. So you really bought into the girl boss of it all. What?
Oh, yeah.
What was it that was so appealing to you?
I mean, we've all seen Devil Wears Prada. It was glamorous. It was everything. And, I was always a writer. So my parents really wanted me to be a journalist. And I, you don't want to do what your parents want you to do. So, while I wanted that kind of like glamorous lifestyle, I kind of leaned in more toward the fashion side of it. So I was really motivated by clothes and like looking good. And I think for me, like looking good and feeling good translated to like success, and not just in the mind, but I would say like it made me feel more confident. So then I was performing, and I was in this position where, there were a lot of factors. I had a boss who advocated like really hard for me, and I had found my niche, and it wasn't the clothes, but I think the clothes, they were nice. So, I wanted to be that total package. I wanted the husband and the 2 kids, and I was going to do it all, and I was going to have the career and, everything. And then, the pandemic said, no, you're not. And, that changed a lot for me and everyone, I think.
Yeah. Sounds like the pandemic, it set you off on doing some job hopping. Did it set you off on doing some like soul searching for the kind of career that you wanted as well?
I think I have, at least to this point, been lucky in that the career trajectory that I fell into just happened to really align with who I am creatively and the type of work that I enjoy. So I wouldn't say in that sense, more in the sense of how much of myself do I give to this career? Where do I need to be working? Do I need to be in the office, boss babing it up? No, I now am more aligned with this like digital nomad lifestyle, which allows me to be even more creative and more productive and like more inspired by new places and things. So yeah, at the time I was motivated by like, I'm going to look so good in this meeting. Like I'm going to kill it and I'm going to look bitchin' doing it. And now it's more about like going to experience new places and new people and being inspired by that.
I love that. And not enough people say bitchin' anymore. So I'm glad you're bringing it back.
I'm bringing it back. Bringing it back.
We're bringing back like mental wellness. We're bringing back bitchin' and corner tubs.
Yes, but especially the corner tubs.
Especially the corner tubs. I'm loving your attitude and how you've kind of like evolved, even though the pandemic was especially difficult. could you walk me through, you're in between jobs right now, and that is by choice. So can you walk me through a little bit about how you made that choice for yourself?
Yeah. I would say it wasn't just one choice, it was a series of choices. I was in a situation where I was feeling overwhelmed, and and I've been given the feedback before that, I need to raise the flag. And I learned to do that with the work, but maybe not with myself. Um, so when I woke up one day and it was 10 o'clock in the morning and I still hadn't opened Slack, and Slack was a stress for me, and I had to get my partner to read my Slack messages with me because I had so much anxiety about reading them. I was like, okay, this is not normal. And he even said, he says, we can't do this every day, right? Sure, I know that. And then maybe a couple of months later was the holiday break, so Christmas break. And I thought, okay, I'm going to have 2 weeks. I'm going to refresh. I'm going to reboot. Um, and that's not what happened. I came back and I was somehow less motivated, and I had a panic attack. So I had my first panic attack a couple of years ago during the pandemic. And I thought I was dying. Like, this is it for me.
Yeah.
I'm done. I'm toast. So fortunately, I was able to recognize that it was what it was, and that it was about work. Like, it wasn't a woolly mammoth chasing me or a saber-toothed tiger or something like that. It's work. It's Slack. It's, the overwhelm. And I had spoken to like my leadership about it, but everybody's kind of burnt out right now. So I'm not sure what response I expected because, we're running a business, so you have to get things done. So I had to make that tough choice for myself and say, it's a panic attack now. It may be a heart attack later. It may be a stroke or aneurysm due to stress. So, raising the flag with myself and listening to my body and listening to, again, what other people are saying. You can't have your partner read your Slack messages with you. Like, they're not on the payroll. That doesn't make sense. And if I need to do that, it's a red flag.
Yeah, it's definitely a red flag. And I think it's interesting, like, and pretty brave, I would say, that you talk to leadership about it. And I think that we should all feel empowered to do so, and then understand that if they don't respond the way that we need, then it's time to go, because they're not going to change that mentality.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, coming from my boss babe era, I was incredibly loyal to one company in particular, to a boss in particular. And I felt that my boss was loyal to me. So I kind of took that from job to job. But when that loyalty and that level of care isn't reciprocated, you have to draw the boundary. You have to say, okay, I get it. That was, an anomalous situation where I had a boss who like really, really cared about me, and like my well-being, and put her people over the business, and say, I have to put me first, Lucius. I have to put me first.
Oh no. I choose me.
Yes.
I love that. And I think, like, are you looking for jobs right now? Or are you kind of taking a break?
It's interesting. So I was resolute in taking a break. I was going to take the summer off, going to have like my freedom era, as I called it. And I've actually been approached by a couple of recruiters for things that seem like amazing opportunities. So I think I'm just keeping my options open right now. I'm keeping my eyes open. I'm keeping my heart open, but also doing the work on the front end of the job to protect myself from future burnout. So screening better, asking better questions, looking through company blogs to see, what are they talking about? Are they just talking about the product and case studies and things like that? Or do they talk about how they invest in their people? Because that's the phase I'm also in right now. While I'm in my freedom era, I'm also in my investment era, and I'm going to invest in myself, and I want to be places that are going to invest in me too.
Yeah, I love that. So, what are some of these questions that you're asking that are doing that upfront work to make sure you're not going to land in the wrong place?
Yeah, I think what I've learned from working remotely for 4 calendar years is that communication had to change, but we didn't necessarily change the communication. So I've been asking questions like, how do you like to be communicated with? I've worked for a company where most of my coworkers were like 8 or 9 hours ahead of me. So I've kind of become a master of asynchronous communication. Um, but not every company is like that. Not every team is like that. Not everyone uses Slack. Some people like email. I do not like email. I don't check my email. If you email me, I didn't see it. So it's important for me to ask questions like that so that I don't try to fit myself into a peg where I'm not, I'm not the right shape, I guess.
Yes. What is it? Square peg, round hole.
Round hole, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. So you're being like really intentional. At the same time, are you being intentional about looking into their policies? Like, do you support mental health? Like, do your people take vacation very often? Are you checking out those things?
Yes, absolutely. And also like the DE&I commitment. I think that's something that's kind of fallen off the map in the last year or so, unfortunately. And, I'm a woman, I'm a person of color. So it's important to me that somebody's thinking about that at the organization, if not everyone. Everyone should be thinking about it. But, I want to make sure that I'm in a place where I can be myself, where it's safe, because that's where I'm going to perform best.
Yeah. Yeah. I heard the term psychological safety thrown around a little bit yesterday. And I think that that does have a lot to do with how we perform best at work, especially like right now. We're all like a little scared of being laid off, or we're a little scared of doing the wrong thing. And it's just really difficult. So it sounds like you're seeking a little bit of that psychological safety as well.
Definitely. It's something that, it wasn't, I mean, I'm sure it was a term, but it wasn't at least on my radar. So, with every job I've had, while job hopping has been exhausting, I've gleaned something different from every job. And I think the big ticket item on my list right now would be psychological safety.
Yeah. Well, so you wrote this great piece about getting up to market rate. So, like getting a 6-figure salary. And I remember reading that and being like, whoa, I relate to this so much. And I've been in this stage where money is really important. Are you at a point where, I mean, I'm not going to like, don't send this to recruiters, but psychological safety versus money, are you prioritizing psychological safety?
Absolutely. I am fortunate enough to be child free by choice, and have savings and things like that. So while getting to market rate was important, now that I'm there, that has kind of been deprioritized. Like as long as I'm being paid fairly, it's more about the emotional perks, if you will. So again, time off and being able to take that time off and not being expected to still be kind of, on call, like unofficially, or otherwise. Yeah, it's important. Obviously I have bills to pay. I just got this place with a bathtub. So I'd like to keep that, but at the end of the day, I won't be making any money if I'm not feeling safe, because again, I was at the point where I'm waking up at 10:30, and then staring at my computer for another hour, dreading opening it. I'm waking up having panic attacks. So that's no way to live. So I, again, am prioritizing the intangibles over the paycheck.
And that's a little difficult too, because there's so much that you can't predict, but you're still trying to be as intentional as possible to protect yourself.
Yep, absolutely. And I think I've learned from all of these jobs that if there are flags, they're there. Sometimes you ignore them out of either desperation or, we fool ourselves into thinking, oh, it's not that big of a deal. Like we've all done it with jobs, relationships, friendships, things like that. But I think it's become important for me to speak to those things and then also bounce ideas off of other people. So I've been sending job postings to my friends and having them look at it and say, do you see any flags here? So if I see family, I know that's a red flag. Like, yeah, like, fast paced or whatever word you want to assign to it, whatever is a red flag for you. So sending it to people who are a little less close to it and are able to look at it objectively and say, hey, this might be an area of concern for you.
That's a super smart approach because you're right. Like, we do put on the rose-colored glasses, which make the red flags just flags to our faces. Mm-hmm. And then other people could look at it and just be like, mission driven. Ugh, like that's not a good thing. So I love that you're doing that. And that's kind of something I want to start doing now that I think about it.
Do it.
Yeah. Do it. So tell me your feelings about unlimited PTO. Like if you see that, is that a red flag for you?
It is not. And I'll tell you why. I think that if you're presented with an opportunity that offers you unlimited PTO, the responsibility is on you to own it, to take it, to unplug. And, I've been guilty of that too. I went to Japan a few years back and my boss was like, do not open your computer, delete Slack, delete everything from your phone. And I didn't do it. I was still checking. And that was a me problem. That was a me thing. So if you're not taking advantage of unlimited PTO, I think it's on you, dude.
Okay, that's a real answer. I think some of it can be attributed to the work culture. So if you never see anyone else, especially executives, take their PTO, then it's like, it's a trap. Like, I don't want to be the only one that does it. But you're right. If you have a boss who's like, I'm going to block you from Slack if you get on here, then it's definitely on you to set those boundaries. It's kind of finding that middle ground is difficult.
Yeah. And I think it's also just not being afraid to be the trendsetter, if you will. Mm-hmm. I've been on teams where people are working until 9 p.m. People are getting here at 5 a.m., but I'm not going to do that because if you want me to continue performing, I'm not going to be able to do that. So when everyone is on the meeting talking about, oh my gosh, like I haven't taken a lunch break and I don't even know how many years, like that's not cute to me. That's not funny to me. And I don't want to be a part of it. So yeah, I take that responsibility to set the boundaries like incredibly seriously because again, I've been that boss babe. I've been the lunch skipper. I've been the, last one in the office, first one in the office. And it got me to this point where I'm super burned out. So, I'm not saying it's completely my fault, but it's going forward, having the knowledge that I have, it's on me to set the boundary.
Yeah. Girl bosses in 2023 set boundaries.
Yes. Boundary bosses.
Boundary bosses, boundary babes. Are there any strategies that you use to set those boundaries? Like, do you calendar block? Do you put time on your calendar ahead of like your vacation?
No, I do try to communicate to people on the team or whoever might need me and just say, hey, I will not be available, and then sticking to it. I think I believe in leading by example. And not to like yuck someone's yum. Like if someone's in their boss babe era, like do it, babe, do it. But I'm not going to be doing it. So here's when you can reach me and here's when I'll be back. And I just do my best to stick to it. I delete apps from my phone when I go on break. I delete apps over the weekend when I can. The trickiest thing has been LinkedIn. And I did a poll about this a couple of months ago. Like, should we be able to have like, how you have like a Finstagram? Should you have like a fake LinkedIn for yourself, because managing a brand social media, it's so hard to be able to get on LinkedIn for personal use and then not get sucked back into work. So that was my biggest struggle area, I would say, as far as unplugging. But
Yeah, that's really relatable. And I think that kind of goes well into another good question for you is you have done social for companies. And has that ever like seeped into your mental health other than it just kind of constantly being there? Is there anything else about it? Some people get rude comments, you deal with trolls.
yeah, I don't so much mind you know, the dramatics of the internet. I think for me, it's the sword over your head, the constant feeling of, oh God, did someone, like having to constantly be engaged and respond in real time and all of those things. And then also, I think it makes it hard for you to enjoy social media for yourself. So when I've spent however long on LinkedIn doing LinkedIn things with a brand, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it for myself. And I think what I learned in my last position is that I had to end up following a lot of people because of the brand. So then when I would get on LinkedIn to do my own stuff, I would only see people I was following for like some of our influencers or thought leaders in the space and things like that. And so I'm not even seeing my friends' content. I'm seeing, Joe Schmo's 7 tips to SDRing. And I think that was, it was kind of a wake up call for me. Like, oh, like this is another avenue in which work is like seeping into my life. And it's harder to draw that boundary.
Have you unfollowed Joe Schmo?
I actually have been on a little spree. So I haven't gone through like my contacts or like follows or anything, but as I go through the feed and I see things that I don't necessarily need to be following for my own personal pleasure anymore, I do hit that unfollow button.
Oh, it's so therapeutic. I love a good unfollow.
Yeah. Yeah, it's liberating.
It's so liberating. You wouldn't believe. Some people are like, oh, I'm so annoyed about all this stuff on my feed. It's all the same. And I'm like, there's an unfollow button. Or you can mute people. Yeah. I'll mute people.
And you can train your algorithm too. That's the thing I had to do with my Instagram. I had to get her back to center.
What is center on your Instagram?
I love to see people that I know and then people who I like, that kind of like second circle of connection. So people who I'm following are following. So I like to know, what's going on? What are people interested in? What are people talking to? And then also the more vacation kind of photos and travel porn and things like that, the better for me.
Okay, well, great. Let's talk about vacation then, because you told me that you were most passionate about vacationing right now. And I know that you have a huge trip coming up. And just tell me all about it.
Yes. So kicking off my freedom era, my partner and I are going to the Dominican for a month. And I plan to lay in a hammock and, stare into the sun until I can't see anymore. And that's about it. I just need to connect with nature. I need to photosynthesize. And I'm going to do it there. So that's phase 1. And then for our birthdays, we're both Geminis. Don't ask me how we do it, but we do. We're planning to go to Colombia to spend some time. And then I am going to Germany to see Beyonce. So these are the vacations.
Is it all like boom, 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 one after the other?
I'm hoping for it to be. I may need to pop back to the States just to, check the mail or that kind of thing. But yeah, as boom, boom, boom as possible.
Like as clean of a break from real life as possible.
Yes.
Are these places that you've been to before?
I have never been to any of these places.
Okay.
And I think that was important for me when picking where I was going to see Beyonce, because I have been to like France, and now I think her Paris stops are going to be incredible. I've been there. And my partner and I have a goal for this year to visit 4 countries. So this was a great way to do it.
That is a great way. Is your partner going with you?
He is not going to Beyonce. Sad.
Oh, are you going alone?
I'm not going alone. I was going to go alone. I'm going with some friends. Oh, I'm going with a friend and her friends. And so, I did invite my partner, but he is not part of the Beehive. And I really wanted to go with people who were going to be just as hype as I was going to be.
Yeah.
And know the choreography and stuff. So, yeah.
I have maybe only been to 1 live concert in my life. Unpopular opinion, don't like live music, which is like sacrilege. I know. I'm sure it's an incredible experience, but I'm like, oh my God, I get sensory overload. So it's just too loud and everything. But that seems like everyone there is like definitely wanted to be there. So you're with your people, right? Mm-hmm. And then you're in a new place with someone who does Beyonce inspire you creatively in some way as well?
I would say she inspires me. She keeps that there's still the little boss babe flame inside of me. But she's bossing in a different way. And I think, I'm a child of the 90s. Let's just be real. I am a Black girl who grew up in the 90s. I love Beyonce. It is what it is.
Yeah. Wow, that's a super exciting trip. What part of Germany is it?
Frankfurt.
I don't know anything about Frankfurt.
Yeah, me either. But I'll report back.
Please do. I studied abroad in Germany, but it was Southern. So like anything else, I don't really know.
I know nothing of Germany, so.
I think the food's pretty good.
Yeah, we stick to a plant-based diet, so I've been looking for like vegan options, and I've been delighted to see how many sorry, not to be the vegan who brings up being vegan. Wow, I did that. I just walked right into that.
I would expect nothing less of a vegan.
Yeah, I don't know why I didn't just bring that up at the top of the hour. But yeah, I've been delighted with how many plant-based options they have in Germany.
Yeah, I'm vegetarian, so it was kind of the same thing where I was like, oh my God, it's just going to be pork everywhere. But they had a ton of vegetarian options, and it doesn't surprise me that extends to vegan. Isn't Beyonce a vegan as well?
I think Lizzo's vegan.
Lizzo's vegan.
I don't know about Beyonce. Lizzo is definitely vegan. Yeah, I cannot speak for Beyonce's food preferences.
Dietary restrictions. Lizzo is amazing. I bet that she has like finger on the pulse of some really good food as well.
Definitely. Yesterday I was talking to a friend who recently got back from Portugal, but she was saying that she was trying to go see Lizzo in London. And I was like, bet, like, let's go. I'll go. Unfortunately, I will be in the Dominican during that time.
Oh, no. You'll be staring into the sun.
Yes, I will have retinal damage, self-inflicted.
Sounds like a way to live.
Yeah, sometimes you just need to just like bleach, like bleach everything, just kind of start fresh. And that's kind of what I'm looking for in this vacation.
Yeah, I'm super excited for your vacation. I hope that you don't post about it on LinkedIn so that you can just like live in the moment.
Well, and I think, I'm in this luxurious position where I can take a career break. And I know so many people are like desperately seeking employment. So I've been pretty silent about that and not posted about it on LinkedIn just because, one, it's really, not that it's nobody's business, but I don't think it helps anything. It doesn't further the conversation in any way. And also I think it's just a little insensitive, during this time. So I'm going to silently enjoy my time.
I was spoken like a true social media manager where you're kind of always having to go through this list of, did this bad thing happen? Is this going to negatively affect my brand? And then I've always found that social media managers are pretty intuitive, almost empathic people. at least to some extent, because you're kind of always thinking about how will this be received.
Yeah, and doubly so as I'm a community manager by title, which is kind of a scam because you end up doing, all marketing, but that's okay. But yeah, I think in order to succeed as like a social manager or community manager, you have to put yourself in the position of your audience or your members, or you're not gonna be successful if you don't, or if you can't.
Do you mind if I ask you a little bit more about this community manager thing? Because now
let's do it.
It's like,
let's dive in.
It's the hot topic, right? People are like, it's all about community. Community is the way. Like, we need community. And no one's really saying what that means. And it's different for everyone. So tell me why it's a scam, first of all, and then what you think the future of this community manager role is even going to be.
Yeah, so I say it's scammy for a couple of reasons. One, in previous roles, like product marketing, let's say, and I've never been a product marketing manager, but so I can only say so much, but there's more or less, this range of what is expected. While in community management, I've done influencer marketing, content marketing, social media marketing, community marketing, graphic design. I had to learn to code, so it's kind of this catch-all role where you learn it all and you do it all and you see it all and you're plugged into all parts of the business. I've reported to product enablement. I've reported to customer success, into marketing, into its own vertical, like up to the CEO. So there's no community role that looks the same. And the other side of the scam is that when you see these community job listings, you really have to be careful, because I've fallen into the trap where they'll say, okay, we want to build a community. But what they really mean is they want to build an audience. They want to build followership. Mm-hmm. And those are not the same. If you want to put like a tagline on this episode, community and audience are not the same. That's the tweet. Building a social media presence is not the same as building a community. That's the tweet. And I think the future of the role, I like to see myself as like maybe the next great brand manager or like chief marketing officer. Because like I said, I've literally done it all. I've written ad copy. I've hosted events, like I've truly everything that could be its own full-time job in marketing I've done, and sometimes at the same time. So I truly believe that one day community managers will be leading the charge in the marketing or customer success or support departments, or maybe being the CEO. I don't know. I'm not going to limit us. I'm not going to put a limiter on our potential.
Yeah, I love that. See, I'm pretty new to community, but I understand the social and community kind of interplay, and it's tempting for people to lump them together. But at the end of the day, they should be very different roles. And my title is social and communications, and my manager and I are very intentionally like, we're not putting community in there because it changes things. You're managing people, you're managing a group of people. Mm-hmm. And then you're managing a page, and then you're managing influencers, which I do those things, but like, then I can't do like a group of people as well.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, you really have to be able to compartmentalize in your brain. In previous roles, I've worked on the community side, being detached from the brand, and then also at the same time managing the brand social. So you really have to have these two hats that you can take off and put on the other one and really hone your focus, because what's good for the brand may not be good for your community members. Mm-hmm. And you really have to be able to, almost argue with yourself and defend what's good for both sides, to yourself and to your team or your leadership.
And I think anytime you have to, like, fighting with yourself is really hard, but then having to play the dual role and defend your job and your decisions for two different things could be really difficult. I can see why you were struggling at times.
Yeah. Struggling. Yes, definitely. But it's not to say that it can't be done. It's just I was unable to do all well, and the boss babe in me is such a type A, such a perfectionist, that I want to do things well and I want to see them through, and I want everything to be as good as it can be. And when I'm feeling too stretched and when I'm feeling like one side is not performing as well as the other, it all kind of falls apart, like a house of cards. So
Yeah. I think that will be relatable for a lot of listeners. It's perfect or it didn't happen.
yep, exactly. And I mean, and you know this, social media, it's so public. Like everything you do, everyone sees it. Everyone at your company, everybody not at your company, everyone sees the fruits of your labor. And it can be, it's a lot of pressure.
It is a lot of pressure. It's pressure that I didn't even know I was taking on at the time when I was like, okay, I'll do it. I'll figure it out. But then kind of everyone has opinions, everyone thinks that they know what to do. And then there's on LinkedIn, there's people who are really crushing it. Maybe they have like they're product led, so they have a lot of followers. And then you start comparing yourself to them when it's a totally different situation, but it's so easy to fall into that trap. And then managers are like, well, they have 20,000 followers. Why don't we have 20,000?
Yep. Or the dreaded, we need this to go viral. Mm-hmm.
Oh God, I've never had that
yes.
said to me. Like, how could you believe that that's possible?
Yeah, we need this one to blow up. Yes.
It's like, okay.
Sure. All you can say is sure.
Sure. We'll do it. Yeah, I think some of that is fundamentally people don't understand the organic versus paid side of things, where it's like, if it's organic and it gets picked up, then it gets picked up. But if it doesn't, then sorry, take that up with the algorithm. It's not on me.
Yeah. And like what worked yesterday in the algorithm may not work today. And I think you've posted several times about this, like stop trying to keep up with the algorithm, stick to what your plan, stick to your brand, do what you do best, and it'll take care of itself. But I think a lot of us fall into that trap of, trying to beat the algorithm, and it's a losing game. It is.
It is a losing game. I feel like no one hates LinkedIn more than LinkedIn social media managers. And like the algorithm, something will be working totally fine, and then the whole website will crash for some reason because they added like sound effects, and then all of a sudden your impressions are down by 20%, and it's like you eventually have to be like, well, I can't do anything about this.
Yeah. Or they took away pinned comments, and
yeah,
your life is ruined.
I use those. The only thing that has really been life-changing is the toggle, where you can toggle between company page and personal. For me, thank you, LinkedIn, for that one feature that we all appreciate.
Yeah, no kidding.
You told me that you were really good at telling people like how to speak up. They come to you for advice about speaking up. So I would love to hear, as we wrap up, some advice that you would give to other marketers right now who maybe feel like if they're not burning out, they're on the path to burnout. So how would you approach them?
I would say, one, congratulations for recognizing it, because like with many things, recognizing it is the first step, and then speaking it is the next step, and it's a big step. But you have to do it because it's not going to get better, especially for us, multifaceted marketers. Like we're taking on so much, we're doing so much, we're worried about so much. And not to say that other people aren't, but again, everything's so highly visible. So that stress, it's palpable, and it's going to take an effect. It may not be today, and it may not manifest in the form of a panic attack or anything like that, but the strain is going to build up. So you have to say something. Find a trusted person in your organization, if you don't feel comfortable speaking to your direct manager about it, maybe talk to your coworker about it who can maybe advocate for you, who can pass the message along. I had a great coworker. Her name is Yael. Shout out Yael. She is a very empathetic person. And even if you don't say something in a meeting, she's watching and she's feeling everything. And she may just see, the little twitch of your face and speak up and say, hey, how about we do this instead? So finding people like that who can speak up for you, or at least recognize the stress or, potential harm or potential discomfort, that's going to be key. And then, practice. I practice in the mirror a lot, and saying what I want to say or what needs to be said. And I'm the type of person where, like, if I think something, like if I think, oh God, don't say anything about Amber's headphones, I'm going to say it. So if I'm practiced, at least it'll come out more the way I want it to come out. And I can make all of the points that I want to make and be as clear as possible without stepping into that emotional territory. Because I'm an angry crier. So when I'm upset, I cry. And I realize, misogyny aside, it makes you look weak or manipulative, or it can be perceived that way. So, practicing to make sure I get it all out before I enter into the conversation helps a lot.
I'm an angry crier, happy crier, sad crier. And I don't know that the qualifier misogyny aside really applies, because misogyny definitely has everything to do with that reaction to it. So I just wanted to pull that in there.
Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome. You are totally valid in how you cry, but I understand that we have to change the way that we do things sometimes so that we are accepted, which is another stressor.
Yes. Only stress. Moral of the story, stress.
It's stress. Actually, yeah, being a marketer is stressful. Being alive is really stressful.
Yeah, especially these days. I don't know how we're doing it. I really don't.
I don't either. But on a lighter note, before you go, have you heard any good jokes lately?
Okay, so I actually came up with this joke in the bathtub. It's where I come up with my best material. So this one's for my DC fans. Okay, it's kind of a deep cut. What is Black Adam's favorite fast food restaurant?
I'm not a fan.
Okay. So Kandaki Fried Chicken. So the city that he's from is called Kondak. So Kentucky Fried Chicken, like Kentucky. See, and I've over-explained it and it's not funny, but I tried and I came up with that myself and I'm very proud of it.
I actually really like it. I wish I had known, so then I could have hee-heed and ha-ha'd when I needed to.
Yeah.
It was good. And I currently live in Kentucky, so very relatable.
Oh, wow. Okay. But do Kentuckians eat Kentucky Fried Chicken? I'm curious.
Honestly, so I am not from Kentucky. I just live here. I've seen like one KFC, I don't think they really do it. There's a Popeyes down the street from me, but there's not a KFC in this city. So no, I guess not.
Yeah. I think the most Kentucky Fried Chickens I've ever seen were in Japan, actually. They are crazy about Kentucky Fried Chicken.
I've heard that they love fried chicken first of all, and then like Kentucky Fried Chicken especially is the place to go.
It's the spot. Undisputedly.
What was it? Kondaki Fried Chicken?
Kondaki Fried Chicken.
Okay, the DC fans will love that.
I hope so. I'm hoping that one person who listens to this hears it and gets it and loves it. I need one.
Yeah. It will reach its target audience, I promise.
Will it go viral, though? We need this to go viral, Amber.
Oh, my God. Okay, I'll try. This has been a great conversation. I really appreciate it. I'm going to put your information in the show notes, but if you have like any closing words or whatever, like go ahead and speak your truth now.
More baths, more vacations.
I love that. And I hope that you enjoy your vacation.
Thank you so much. This has been delightful. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, thank you.